Hello and welcome to the NC podcast. My name is Natasha Collins and I am the host. I'm the founder of NC Real Estate, which includes its members club for property investors and landlords. It's a place where they can come and build a profitable property portfolio that completely aligns with their goals. Today, I have got a very special guest, my mom. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Natasha.
So, if you have been listening to my podcast for a while, Mum and I recorded a podcast maybe like over a year ago. It was one of the very early podcasts where we talked about how Mum reinvested her money into a new property that she bought and remortgaged her old property onto a buy-to-let mortgage, and she now runs that as her property investment. And I know there was a number of people who kept emailing me and saying, your mom has a really calming voice. That was one of the comments you got. And also that it's quite inspirational to hear from you doing property investment on your own, because you're not, you're doing it on your own, which gave a lot of other people hope that they could do the same. So that was some really positive comments as well. But today we are recording this because yesterday on the day that this podcast goes out was my 30th birthday. We're recording this a bit in advance, but I thought we'd have a good conversation about life at 30, and that's why I invited my mom to come and join me, because she's been through everything over the last 30 years. Right?
Yes, that's right. It's with you all the way.
You had to think about that for a while. Have I been fun for 30 years?
You have been fun, Natasha. You've always raced to get here. You were born sort of prematurely, and you've always been very determined to reach your goals, and that's what you've done.
Yeah. How would you say I've changed since my 20-year-old self?
Since you're 20, when you were 20, I think that you're quite insecure about your place in the world. You were struggling to succeed. You were off at university, and the things were a challenge, I think, because you were juggling working and doing your degree. And I don't think you had the confidence then that you have now, although you were always very determined to do well and succeed at everything you did. But yes, I just don't think that you have the confidence, whereas now I think you're more aware of what you can actually achieve by yourself.
Yeah,
that's it, really.
I think so. Where did you notice the biggest difference in the change?
I think the biggest change was when you had to actually do things for yourself. You were adventurous when you were younger, but I just think that you lacked the confidence. I don't know. I'm not quite sure really, but I just suddenly, when you got to probably 23, 24, you suddenly found your feet and you suddenly knew where you were in the world. You'd got your qualifications, you knew that you wanted to be in property. And I think your confidence grew because you were good at doing it. And yeah, I think your confidence grew from there.
Yeah. Is it a big change since my teenage years? For everybody who knows me, my teenage years were a bit of a problem. I was a nasty teenager.
Oh, you weren't nasty, Natasha.
I remember that being one of the most traumatic stages. One of my teenage years was when my anxieties came out the most. That's why I remember it being quite a nasty period for me, because it was so tough. Like everything, I used to worry about everything, obsessively worry.
Yes, you did, I think. But the good thing was, even then, you could talk about it. Not all the time, but there were moments when you'd sit down and you'd tell me about your worries and we'd be able to talk through it. And then you'd be fine for a little while. And then the worries would get on top of you again. I think it's just really growing up. You have lots of pressure from school, lots of pressure from yourself. You've always put pressure on yourself to succeed. And when things didn't go quite as well as they should, then you blamed yourself, whereas it wasn't really your fault. And that's what it came out in your anxieties, I think.
Yeah, but I still do that now to a certain extent.
Yeah, that's true. You do it still. You're very tough on yourself, I think. Far tougher on yourself than anybody ever would be.
Yeah, I often speak to mum when I'm feeling like I've not achieved what I thought I was going to achieve, or things haven't gone the way that I wanted them to. And I think I've I share that a lot. I try um not to put it on other people. I always blame myself for things first rather than like telling other people about it. And then I find it very difficult to unravel what's going on.
Yes, and I think that, but again, I think the good thing is, Natasha, from your point of view, is that you do talk about it. And I think when you open up about some of the things that you're feeling anxious about, then, at least from my point of view, I can then remind you of the good things that are happening as well. And then it makes you take a step back and you can sort of refocus and reset your goals again. Because it's too easy for you to, I think, get overwhelmed by things going wrong when actually it's not really things going wrong. It's just a tiny setback that when you stop and think about it, it's fine. Put it in perspective and you can move forward again. And that's one of your skills as one of your downsides, I think, is that you are able to reset yourself and to move forward again.
Yeah, that's true. It's tough when you're going through it though. I'm not very good at seeing the wood through the trees.
No, not to begin with, you're not, but when you're reminded, you are. I think that's for everybody, Natasha. It's not just you. I think everybody finds that it's much easier giving other people advice than it is actually looking at yourself and putting things into perspective. But yeah, it's fine. You do quite well with that, I think.
You think? Okay, that's good. That's a positive to hear. Um, so tell me, what would be in my 30th year? What would be the biggest piece of advice you can give me for the next 10 years?
Don't look back. Don't have any regrets about things that you could have done. And also to realize that actually every goal is still achievable. It's never too late to, if you wanted to learn a new skill, go to university and learn a new skill. If you want to chuck everything up and go around the world, go and do it. Don't put things off, because every time you put things off, it's another year gone and another time wasted. So that's the thing I'd say to you is, if you want to go and do something, go and do it.
Have you done that? Have you learned that? How did you learn that?
I learned that actually from the breakdown of my marriage, really. Up until then, I sort of settled, and you sort of compromise a lot, I think, when you're married. And at the time, it wasn't bad, but it was only when I came out of the marriage to your dad that actually I realised there are things I wanted to go and do. And the only thing that really stopped me, and it wasn't your dad, it has nothing to do with that, was the fact that I didn't do things for myself. And I don't regret it, but having that opportunity now, if I want to travel, I travel. I've always wanted to have a puppy. I've now got a puppy. I've always wanted to live in the country. I now live in a house in the country. The thing is to stop other people's pressures stopping you doing what you want. It's down to your own responsibility to act on your own behalf. And that's what I say to you. If you want to do something, do it. Don't put it off because you think that other people don't want to do it. So that's the thing. I know you have to compromise somehow, but just don't put it off to the detriment of your own needs.
Yeah, that's a good piece of advice. So, what would you say then would have been the biggest thing that you've done on your own? Like, what was the biggest triumph that you've had since being able to make that decision?
Um, I think one of the biggest triumphs is actually taking on a mortgage of my own, and two mortgages of my own. You know, the responsibility of having my own house, and then the responsibility of having a house that I rent out to somebody else. That's quite a big challenge, actually, because you know that property is my responsibility. I have to make sure that my tenants are safe and secure there, that the building doesn't fall around their ears. Yeah, I think that's the biggest challenge and the biggest responsibility I've had to take on.
And
And that's it, really.
do you worry about it still?
Yes, I worry. Similar to you, Natasha. I always worry. If I don't have anything to worry about, then I'm worrying about something. Yeah, yeah. I think I'm just a worrier. And the good thing is to talk about it when things again get too much for me. I talk to you about it, don't I? You know,
Yeah.
I say I'm not sure that I want to do this anymore, and then we discuss what options there are. And that's the thing. There's always options. You don't have to put up with the situation that you're in or to worry about it.
No, that's very true. Very, very true. Um, so looking back over the last couple of years, I guess what's the best times we've had? Because our relationships changed, I think, in my 20s. We've got a really good relationship now.
Yeah, I think the hardest was through the teenage years. I think that we clashed because we're very similar. So we had some moments together, I think, which was tricky. Um, but I think, again, though, we've always been able to laugh and to, I don't know, we've always spent time together. I think that's the important thing, that you and I have always managed to find time, if it's, an odd weekend away, that when you're at university, I'd pop up and visit you on my own. And then when you lived in London again, I'd come down and I'd stay overnight with you. And I think spending time together and having that time where we could just laugh at each other, and we didn't have all the stresses of everything else, that goes on around you. It's just really nice, I think, that we managed to come together.
Yeah. Do you remember the time we went to Jersey?
I do remember the time we went to Jersey.
So one of the first trips that
Yeah.
Mum and I ever did together, where we weren't in the UK, well, it's part of the UK. We went to Jersey and we missed a flight the first time. That was the first thing that went wrong, and then it was just kind of a bit chaotic from there, wasn't it?
Well, it wasn't the flight that we missed that's chaotic, was it? It's we got to the railway station and found that no trains were running to get to Gatwick in the first place. So do you remember that we were running outside the station and I slipped
Yeah.
and fell over? That didn't help. And then we had to share a taxi, didn't we? Because we couldn't get a taxi to the airport. So we shared one with another couple of guys who were trying to get there.
Yeah. And then we had to wait all
And then
day in Gatwick Airport for the next flight to Jersey.
and we had to pay for the privileges of that as well, didn't we? I think we paid £60 each.
And then we got there and Mum got chatted up on the jetty. Was that where you got chatted up?
Well, in the square, yes, that was funny.
And we
That was very funny, wasn't it, really?
we ended up getting on a bus tour because you got chatted up and the guy wanted to take you on a bus tour.
Well, we did actually, but that's lucky because we only actually had one full day in Jersey, didn't we? So going on the bus tour meant that we actually saw Jersey. Otherwise, we'd have got straight back on the plane and gone home again.
And then we went out and we got very drunk on about 3 bottles of wine.
We did. Was that in the Italian restaurant?
Yes.
Yeah, we did. Well, to be honest, Natasha, you and I always get drunk together, so that's not really a surprise, is it?
No, it's not. And then we get told off by my sisters.
We do indeed. Yes, I remember another occasion we got very drunk was in a Turkish restaurant, I think, in London. We weren't eating, but we just had a drink there.
Oh yeah, and that was when you were staying in my flat in Notting Hill, right?
That's right, yes.
Um,
Yes, and they had to try and get back across London when all the late night buses were running, I think, but the trains had all stopped, hadn't they?
yeah, they had. So I had to walk home from Earl's Court, and I got you on a bus to Harrow Road.
That's right. That was very funny.
I
We had some entertaining times, I think.
We have had some entertaining times over the last. I think it's got better over the last 10 years. We've had a really good relationship since I went to university for my undergrad.
Yeah, definitely. I say it's improved. I think I'm really lucky because not only do I have a good relationship with you, but I also have a good relationship with your sisters. But yeah, you were talking about you, but we do have great fun, don't we? And we've travelled quite a bit together now, haven't we?
We went to Rhodes.
Yes, that was really good. We had a really good holiday in Rhodes.
Oh, we went to Brussels.
Brussels was the first place that we went together, I think, on our own, wasn't it? And we went to Madrid with Sophie.
Oh yeah, and we went to Crete with Sophie.
We did go to Crete with Sophie. We also went to Switzerland.
Oh yeah. Yeah, since it's actually you've been a lot of fun over the last couple of years, Mum.
Oh, thanks, Natasha. Okay, that's nice of you to suddenly realise that.
Joking. No, we have had some really, really, really good times, and that's been part of, I guess, the good thing is that every time I'm, we're back in the same place, we just hang out and have a good time. And I love going to Avening. For all of you who follow me on Instagram, I put some posts up last week about the fact that I was in Avening, and I put a post up about the Queen Matilda, which is the pub at the top of the road from Mum's house, and they do something called a Fishy Thursday, where it's buy one get one free fish and chips, and it's just lovely, isn't it?
It is. It's really good fun. Yeah. Yeah. We're really lucky in this village, aren't we? Because we've got the Queen Matilda that does really good, more than pub style food, I think. And then the pub that's closer to me that does an Indian, they've got an Indian restaurant there and doing an Indian takeaway, and they're always lovely in there, and it's great fun. I think a nice local village pub, but it's got the addition of the Indian restaurant.
Yeah. I think it's a great idea. When you first told me about it, I was a bit skeptical, but no, that's done really well.
Yeah, it has done really well. It's surprising, isn't it? Because it still is a really traditional village pub where all the locals go. But just in their little back room, they've got the Indian restaurant and takeaway, and it just works brilliantly.
Delicious. Absolutely delicious. So, Mum, do you have anything to ask me for my 30th birthday?
Yes. Where do you see yourself, Natasha, in 5 years' time?
It's a real tough one to call. I don't know where I see myself in 2 years' time. This year I aim to invest a bit more wisely, build up more of a kind of a passive income, I guess, and finish off this teaching qualification that I've got to get done. I don't know that we'd necessarily be in New York still in 5 years' time. It depends on whether we decide to have a family or not. There seems to be far more questions now, or far more uncertainty in what's going to happen in my 30s than there was in my 20s, and I quite like it. I like that we're in New York at the moment because I enjoy being here. But I don't know. I actually don't know. For the first time in a long time, I don't really know. If you'd have asked me 10 years ago when I was 20 where I'd be in 5 years' time, I would have still been in London. And I was kind of certain about that. That was what was going to happen. So it's been all change. I must admit, I thought by the time I was 28, I would have settled down, been married and having children if you'd asked me when I was 20. But now I seem really young. I still feel really young, like anything could happen.
Well, I think that's the thing, isn't it? I think that you are still really young and anything can happen. And it's nice that you haven't pigeonholed yourself yet, I think. It's too easy, isn't it, to get pressures from other people and outside sources that because maybe all your peers are settling down and what have you. But it's really nice that you can actually do what you want to do. And I think that's really important. And I think that's what I was saying earlier, is that sometimes you compromise and you get pushed into situations that actually this isn't really the way that you want to go. Not that I've got any regrets about, when I got married and had a family and what have you. I loved that and it was brilliant. But it's really nice not to have to compromise, is to choose what you want to do.
Yeah, I think that's still a big part of what I'm still not quite there with wanting to give up that flexibility. I like being flexible. I like having my own say in what's happening and what's going to go next. I think I find I found it really hard when I was working doing 9 till 6 every day, or more than that. I was working more than that because I had to be somewhere for a certain time. And I like now that I don't have to be somewhere for a certain time. I have to do work, but I don't have to show up somewhere. Do you know?
But don't you find that you work harder because you're not having to go in and work? That actually you're always working.
Yeah, I do work very hard. That's something that I need to change over the next 5 years. I need to calm down.
I think I think you're right. I don't think you always switch off. It's sometimes you need to completely switch off. I mean, work's important and what you do, is really good. But there are times when actually you have to say, no, this is my time now, and I'm not doing this. This is, you know, time off. You need to give yourself time off. I think if I was going to give you advice, Natasha, is give yourself time off occasionally.
Do you think that you get to an age where you know to give yourself time off? Like where work doesn't become so important?
Yes, and I don't know how it comes to that. I mean, I don't know if anybody else knows, but I was made redundant last year, and so I've sort of just been working, um, doing a few bits of casual work here and there. And actually, it's really nice. It's really nice to switch off a bit and to have downtime. And I think it's just now that actually I appreciate the fact that I've got downtime, that I don't have to get up every single morning and go into work. And I've got a new job now that I'm starting to do 3 days a week, but that's lovely. It's nice. Yeah, it's really good, I think. But it takes a while to get there, I think.
So with your job now, do you turn off? So you're like, you've done your hours, you just turn off.
Yes. And I hope that this new job will stay like that. I think I'm past where I bring it all home. Um, yeah, I think sometimes you find that there are more important things in life, like coming to visit you, Natasha. I'd like to have the time to, pop over to New York more often. And now we've got baby Archie in the family to spend time with him. And then again with Sophie, I don't know, she may move to Sweden or something, but it's nice to have the time to be able to go and spend time with all of you children, and yeah, to have free time to do nice things, not just work.
Yeah, that's one thing I'm missing is that balance because I feel like even though I go and visit people or I see you and I was in the UK last week and I spent time with you, I'm working a lot as well. Like that's always part of whatever everything that I'm doing. And so I really need to get that balance, but I just wondered if that just sometimes that just one day hits you. You're like, okay, well, time is finite, so I'm not doing this after this hour.
I think you're right. But I don't think you can say when it is, though. I wouldn't say it's when you hit 50 or when you're coming up to 60. I think you just get to the time where, well, maybe where things are more settled, because I'm very fortunate. I've got this other property that I rent out, so I've got a small income coming from that. I've got a small pension that I'm doing, so I'm a little bit freer than I was before. It's not all about earning money now, and I'm quite happy to spend less money, I think. But when I do spend money, I want to spend it on things that I enjoy. I want to be able to go on holiday and visit everybody. And yeah, I don't know. Yeah, your life balance changes, I think, when you get a bit older.
Do you think you learn that through having kids?
Um, no, I don't think that you do learn that from having kids.
Okay.
I think you learn that from being on your own.
Oh,
I think when you have children, I think that you're just so in the moment of having children, you just don't have time to think about anything else, really.
oh, I was hoping that that might change things.
No,
Do
I
you
think,
think that I would have children and be working as hard as I do now?
yeah, probably more so, because you're always juggling. You'll be constantly juggling.
Oh no.
Yeah, I think having children is really hard work, really,
Yeah.
really hard work. But the plus side is it's great, great fun. I really have enjoyed having your children. I've always enjoyed your sense of humour, Natasha. We've always sort of had a very similar sense of humour, I think. And I have missed having you around more. Not through the challenging stage. That's when I really wish that you were around a lot less. But it didn't last very long. To be honest, it didn't last very long. I think it was probably when you were 15, and that was horrendous. But apart from that, no, it's been fun.
Yeah. Okay.
And the good thing is, as well, is that you have good friends, and your friends are great fun. When we used to all go to the Isle of Wight festival, and all your friends would pile over and visit as well. Great fun.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. I've got all that to look forward to if and when we decide to have a family.
Yeah, you have. Yeah. And well, you make family as well. That's the thing. It's not whether or not you have children. It's you'll make a family and make a social life and make a group of people that you want to spend time with. Yeah, it's not all about having kids, I don't think. I think it's about getting that social life and enjoying it.
Okay, so we'll round off the podcast shortly, but I've got a final question. If you've learned anything in life, what is it? Not just the go out and do what you want to do, but if there's like a specific tip that you could share, what have you learned?
Well, that's a really hard one. What have I learned? There's never a best time of your life, Natasha.
Okay.
Every part of your life, in your 20s, actually, I think it gets easier. In your 20s, you've got lots to worry about. When you reach your 30s, I think you stop worrying because things aren't quite so personal. So you stop worrying quite so much what everybody else thinks of you. And I think once you get past worrying what everybody else thinks of you, I think that you're a bit freer. And yeah, that's it really. Is people don't really think about you. That's what you have to think about. People don't really think about you all the time. You just have to let that go. Does it matter what they think anyway? And move on. And then you feel freer. And I think you get that in your 30s.
And when you hit your age, are you just free?
When you hit my age, I don't know. I like being my age. I've liked being every age, actually. I don't wish that I was younger particularly. I just think it's nice. I think you get even freer. You know, it doesn't matter so much, again, what people think. So I think as you get older, past your 30s, what people think of you matters even less and less. It's more what you think of yourself.
That's a good tip to finish on. Well, Mum, thanks for coming and joining me on my 30th birthday podcast.
That's okay, Natasha. I've enjoyed having 30 years of you, and hopefully I have more than 30 more.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Oh, another tip, Natasha. Stop having candles on your cake, otherwise you'll singe your hair.
What?
Well, because you have to have 30 candles on your cake. It's rather a lot. Oh, dear.
I will leave that there. There you go.
Okay.
Words of wisdom from Melanie Collins. Well, thanks for that, Mum. Thanks for coming and joining me.
That's all right, and I will speak to you soon.
Thank you. Well, thank you everybody else for joining us as well. If you've liked this podcast, don't forget to hit like and also leave a 5-star review. I want to hear from you on what you have enjoyed. If you want to find out any more about me, head on over to www.ncrealestate.co.uk, or you can join my property investment community over on Facebook. That's the Property Investment Mastery Facebook group. Thank you for joining me today, and I will catch up with you again next week.